What do you think is the worst thing the Disney company has done? And I mean in terms of media, so films and television shows. You might be thinking that the worst thing is its vast production of racist content, like, for example, the Song of the South. But I think that that's pretty famous. People talk about it, and Disney talks about it. They make an effort to at least put warnings on content that might be questionable. But the thing that Disney doesn't really talk about, the thing that they don't want to acknowledge, the thing that they want to close the door on the past and let it rot in its grave, is the thing we're going to talk about today, which is Disney had a huge problem with animal abuse in the 50s and 60s. And when I say huge problem, I don't mean that people were talking about it, because they weren't talking about it. Everybody loved Disney productions at that time. No, they were committing animal abuse quite regularly. Maybe the most egregious example is a movie from the late 60s called The Incredible Journey. And the only thing good about that movie is that it led to one of my favorite movies of all time called Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey. But what we're going to talk about is a film today that's emblematic of this problem, which is a film called White Wilderness from 1958. And it's one of a series of films called True Life Adventures. And the whole idea is that Walt Disney wanted the company to be considered to be more serious. So he wanted educational programs that kids and adults could enjoy at the same time. So nature documentaries were his kind of foray into doing that. And this particular one from 1958, when it came out in 1958, it won an Oscar for the best documentary because it was really really popular. But much later in the 1980s, it turned out that a lot of this stuff in the movie was fake. And it was faked by using a lot of what we would consider to be animal abuse. Let me talk about, maybe give you a little bit of context for that statement, because that statement has been proved to be true. So in the 1980s, because it was filmed in Canada, a Canadian news program did an investigation on this film, and they discovered that there is this scene where lemmings are jumping off the cliff and theoretically committing suicide. And that scene didn't happen in real life. What really happened is it wasn't even in the Arctic, and the production company took a bunch of lemmings and they threw them over the cliff and then filmed them. And, the narrator says, everything, they were fine, but then they swim out into the ocean and then they're probably never seen again. So the problem with it is that it's completely made up. Lemmings don't commit suicide, so they forced these animals to do something completely natural. And you could say, well, what was the problem with throwing lemmings off a cliff when we eat meat and all of that stuff? But I think everyone would agree, vegan and non-vegan, that we should try to reduce the harm to animals as much as possible. Because if we don't, then we're just being unnecessarily cruel to them. And the fact that they did this for a nature documentary is wild. Like, now, if you look at the description of the film on Wikipedia, it says pseudo nature documentary. And I'm sure when that film won the Academy Award, they didn't say best pseudo nature documentary, Wild Wilderness. And you might be thinking, Adam, relax. it's only one movie. Well, it's not one movie. As I said, this True Life Adventures were like an entire series of films. Um, and there are movies where you can tell that these animals were being abused and put in unnatural situations. Like, there's one that I did a review of called The Living Desert. And I don't remember what animal, but they make it like. So for some reason, these kind of films really like it when another animal is. This film series really likes it when one animal is riding another animal. They think that's really, really hilarious. So they in the White Wilderness, it's a ptarmigan that's being ridden by a lemming or something, and in the Living Desert, it's two other animals that probably would never do that in real life. And you might think, as Disney said, as the Disney company said when this scandal came out, that it was just the work of James Algar, who was the director for these films, that he had no, it was like Disney didn't know what he was doing. But in the Living Desert film, they wanted a scene, and I forget exactly the details, but Disney looked at the thing and then he said, wouldn't it be funny if they would do this? And the director was like, what do you mean? I'd only have the footage that I've shot. I can't, like, the odds of them doing that naturally are really, really low. And Disney said again, wouldn't it be funny if they did this? So basically, what he was saying, without saying, is that the director should go back and film the scene in a certain way, which means that Disney, the person, was directly responsible for this animal abuse, right? In that film, The Living Desert. So we don't know if Disney said to throw the lemmings off the cliff, but there is a lot of circumstantial evidence that that was kind of the environment that he created. And it wouldn't end until the rules against animal abuse in Hollywood were standardized, I think probably in the late 70s, early 80s, which is wild that it took that long for that to happen. So I've been talking about the film and talking about the controversy of the film. And yeah, maybe one thing to say is like, Wild Wilderness is, and I didn't even talk about that part. Lemmings don't commit suicide. They don't at all. And the fact that the film mentions this, but they mention it in such a smarmy way, which is basically like, some people say that lemmings commit suicide. That is both true and not true. What do you mean it's true and not true? It's not true. And then you film this scene of them committing suicide. And what do you think people are going to like take from the movie? They're going to take the fact that they commit suicide. So, and it was like repeated in cartoons and stuff. And still probably there are older people who believe that lemmings commit suicide because of this documentary and its kind of effects on the culture. So, yeah. I think the thing that I wanted to point out, though, is that Wild Wilderness is the most famous of these true life stories because of this. But I think if somebody had done investigations into the other installments, there was one about the African lion, and as I said, the Living Desert, I think that they would find that equally those films are very problematic. So I've been talking about the controversy connected to animal abuse and these films and Disney, but is the film actually good? Kind of. It's kind of good, but you watch it and you kind of get like a bad feeling. It kind of feels like a snuff version, a snuff film for animals. So it doesn't make you like I don't think that anybody should go out and watch this, and it's really really hard to find it because obviously Disney doesn't put it on Disney Plus, or you can't buy a DVD of this movie anywhere. So you can find it if you're really, really interested, but I don't think that you need to find it because if you want, I think that it's only interesting for seeing Disney's style of these true life adventures. And I think that there might be less controversial picks, although, as I said, the other ones haven't been really investigated. So if you watch a film that from that series that has less animal involvement, then I think that it would be better. And I think that there's one that just deals with like the forces of nature. I forgot what that's called. Like if you remember that, maybe put it in the comments for people to find it. And that would be a better way to watch these films. So unfortunately, I would have to give this like a 0 out of 10 because you don't throw animals off of the cliff to make an entertaining film. You just don't do that. Like, that's not right. And although when I was doing the reviews of the other True Life films in this series, I thought about one thing, one question that I have, which is how accurate are nature documentaries nowadays? Like, how much interference do documentary filmmakers do because they want certain shots? And if you are like interfering in the animal's life, then is your documentary accurate? Because, you know, they want to have stories, they want to have like plots to these films. I think one of the worst and yet most respected recently was a series called Chimp Empire, where they're talking about a war between chimpanzees that happened maybe about 10 years ago. And they have all of this footage, and they kind of ascribed motivations to what happened in this chimpanzee war to different individual chimpanzees. And yeah, I'm sure the chimps had motivation. They are animals that have motivation 100%. But unless you can actually interview the chimpanzee, you can't really say what its motivations were. It could be revenge. It could be that it didn't like that guy, you know, and it's just using this war as an excuse to murder him. It could be that he's a psychopathic chimpanzee. You don't know, right? But I wonder about that. So maybe if you're watching this and you have some documentary, nature documentary from, let's say, the last 10 years that you feel is really egregious example of people interfering in animals' lives, maybe put it in the comments and I'll check it out. But yeah, to finish this one, should you watch White Wilderness? No, I think it's just a historical relic, an interesting trivia bit now, and it shouldn't really be celebrated or remembered apart from those things. All right, thanks. Oh, wait, wait. If you like what I do, please subscribe to the channel. Please leave a comment. I'm trying to get to 20 subscribers by the end of June. We're at 14. I'm trying to get to 3,000 views by the end of June. We're at 2,300. And I don't know, maybe watch time of 40 hours. Those are really specific things to talk about on a video, but I think I want to be honest and transparent about my goals because I am trying to be the most prolific reviewer of all time. To do that, I need to review at least 15,000 things. My stretch goal is probably like 1,000,000 things, but I'm almost 50. I don't think I'll make it, but I think I'll make it to 15,000, definitely. So if you want to help that, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that jazz, because that shows the algorithm that people are interested in this crazy side quest I've gotten myself into. Anyway, thank you for your time. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.